What's going on, guys? It's another night in the garage. Been hard at it lately. I got I think 79 days left. So right now, this evening, I've been working on more chassis harness stuff. You can see here, got the trans cooler, but behind it, I'm making all the douche connector plugs for the fans. Right now, this is actually my front wheel speed sensor. So as you can see there, it actually triggers off the back of the hub and it hits one of the studs. That way, essentially it's a 4-to-1 trigger. So I went and put a douche connector mating plug on it. That way it's serviceable in the future. Been hard at the interior. I got more stuff done. The Fuel Tech harness is trimmed. I got the bump relay in there with the panel. So a couple of changes has happened this week. I mean, the more I work on the car, the more I'm building this car, the more I keep thinking, oh, I want to do something differently. I can make it better. I gotta change my mind on something. So one thing that's actually gonna be super beneficial, I'm excited for, and it also happens to be the fact that I'm kind of lazy. So I bought this little guy. This is an individual sensor bulkhead. So as you can see here, it's meant for 4 sensors, and they're only on their own sides. Like for instance, there's a wall in between each of them. So basically what I'm doing with this now is tonight I'm going to be cutting into the firewall under where I put the douche plugs, but in the cabin, this is going to be underneath it. So when you're looking at the firewall under those plugs, all you're going to see is a couple of fittings coming out. Now behind the firewall, I'm going to have all of my pressure sensors. So we have the coolant pressure, the fuel pressure, and the oil pressure. Now, since I do have a fourth, what I'm going to end up using the fourth for is to use my vacuum reference for boost, come off the back of the intake manifold, go into there, because on the Fuel Tech dash, the map sensor is actually built into the dash. So it's a 7-bar internal, which is great. So I can run 60 pounds of boost, which I'll never see on this car. But it also makes it really easy for the the setup. I don't have to have another pressure sensor on top. So basically, what the thing is with the sensor relocation is it helps in multiple ways. I don't have to now dress up more wires to put in the engine bay, so it's less wiring work on me, because when I don't have to make things pretty, I can knock out the wiring really quickly. The other good part is now you take the sensors away from the vibration and the heat, the sensors actually tend to last longer. On these cars, like for instance, my engine setup, it's motor plated, so it's solid to the chassis. That plate's welded directly to the frame, and that's bolted directly to that, and that's my motor mount. So this engine's going to produce a lot of vibrations. So this takes those sensors, takes them out of that element. Well, they actually should last longer. The only downside is if the sensor does go bad, it's going to be a pain in the ass to get to. But pull the dash out, and it's not that big of a deal on my car. So that's what I've been on lately. The trunk is now 100% done. I got my trailer brake controller harness. My lighting harness is finished. The only one thing I have to do is this is actually my battery kill button now. So to release the battery kill, all you have to do is twist it, and then to activate it. So this will actually work as my battery kill. I have a solid state battery kill right here. This pigtail I made into the harness for this douche connector, all I really have to do now is take these 2 ends, and solder them on the back of that switch back there. So other than that, it's done back here. I got a rear panel. That way my relays and everything are easy to access. The fuel pump's wired, the water pump's wired, and the radiator. So as you see, I got the massive Mishimoto race radiator fans. And then I have my good old water pump on the side. So now everything is wired back here, everything is set up. All I have to do now is remount the parachute mount, which I had just painted because I had to put a couple gussets in it. So other than that, everything back here is kind of finished. Besides, the only thing left I have to do back here, put the gas tank back in, make the line for the radiator fill, and that should be it. So kind of wrapping up little sections at a time. One thing I have to do now as well is I sent in an order for my axles. So I measured the length of the drive shaft, which is exactly 36 inches. I think. I don't remember, don't quote me. But I measured the length of the drive shaft. I sent it over to my good guy Tad at Drive Shaft Shop. Also, I sent in, you know, I need the 8.8 differential axles now. Well, since my car is kind of a mutt, I've been working with Drive Shaft Shop for the past 3 years with this setup. I helped them develop the 1.8 diff swap axles, the Turbo 2 swap axles, drive shaft and axles. So we kind of have a good relationship. One thing on my car is this part right here, the stub. This is actually something that's not produced on any other kit. Like, I was kind of testing it. So because of that, now I have to measure my own axle length. I can't just take the V8 Roadster swap axles and use those measurements. So now I actually now have to drop the diff, because the axles I'm ordering are 31 spline. The differential I have in there now, when I bought it, it came with an open diff 28 spline. So this guy right here, this is actually called a spool. A spool is essentially a differential that's welded full time. It's just a straight tube. So what I'm gonna have to do coming up soon is take this my differential out of the car, disassemble it so I can go ahead and put the spool in. That way I can get the stubs in, that way I can finally measure the axles and do what I need to do for them. So kind of a pain in the butt, but it's definitely gonna be beneficial for myself and them. I mean, it's R&D for them, and hopefully we're gonna come out with a better product than I had before, because I definitely don't wanna break axles. So this is one of those fun doodads. But I keep chipping away more at this harness. I actually got most of the stuff tied up now. It's trimmed to where I need it to. The only thing I'm really waiting on is heat shrink. I don't have the proper size heat shrink for what I want to do, but I've been starting to, you know, get everything situated. So this is going to go into there like so, right in there. And then once that's terminated, I'll be able to come, well, I can do either way, but I can able to terminate these now, and then that'll be the end of the harness finally. I am so close. I love doing the wiring, but man, is it time consuming. It's pretty intense. And if you don't know what you're doing, it's definitely overwhelming. Even if you do know what you're doing, it's overwhelming. You have to maintain focus. You have to make sure you have everything documented. Like, I have my entire sheet here, my coils, injectors, temperature sensors, pressure sensors. I have everything documented. That way, if I ever have any questions when I go through the harness, you know, I have everything written down as to what it's for. I rewrote that page because I'm really bad at writing pages out. But I mean, I have everything documented. This is the dash harness, you know, for those switches over there, you know, with the cigarette lighter and whatnot. So everything is documented. The only thing left I really want to do besides the wiring I have now is I have to wire in my speaker. Kind of a cool thing. When I had the car running before with the 4-cylinder, I was like, man, I don't need a dang radio. I like to listen to the sounds of the engine. I was so wrong. Like, long drives is boring as heck. So I actually had a gift card for Seminole Power Sports here in Sanford, Florida. And I don't own a motorcycle. I don't own any ATVs or anything like that. So I never knew what to do with the gift card. It kind of dawned on me that I bought, oh, it's kind of hard to see. Let me get the light, hold on. I bought a motorcycle handlebar sound bar. And as you can see here, it's actually mounted to the roll cage. You know, on my roof, I do have a diagonal bar, but it's mounted there. So anytime there's power applied to the key switch of the car, I always have a radio. And it's direct Bluetooth, so I don't have to deal with any other wires besides, you know, power ground. I don't have to plug it in every time. It just automatically connects. Hands down the best investment I ever made in the entire car. Especially because it's right above my ear, it makes it really loud, even though I have, you know, the hood exit exhausts. It's loud as heck. So, you know, like I said, I've been chipping away at it. Finally, that I set a deadline on myself, it's definitely put a fire under my butt. My initial goal right now is January, the end of January, beginning of February. I want to have the engine and out. I want everything to come out of this car. Everything's coming out. Everything turbo kit wise, cover, piping, intercooler piping, brackets, manifolds, everything's getting powder coated. And then the hop side, crossover, manifolds, exhaust, maybe, I'm not sure. That's gonna get ceramic coated to prevent corrosion from the heat, or corrosion, and it also gonna help the heat. So then at the same time, I have to go through the entire trans tunnel, and I have things I need to situate when the engine's out that I just can't get to now. So the rest of the fabrication is gonna happen with the engine bay, and then it's gonna get ready for paint. I haven't decided if it's gonna get wrapped or painted yet. I really don't know. I have great friends over at Side Effects Graphics in Daytona Beach, where they actually have the big printer. So if anyone has a really cool design, we can make it happen on the car. And I'm not opposed to it. Like, I've always wanted a cool, creative, crazy wrap, but I also just like the simple green. It can't be a turtle if it's not green. So it's either gonna get painted by my buddy Randy at Surratt green, or it's gonna get wrapped by Austin and Rusty over at Side Effects. I haven't decided. All right, so it's like midnight now. My friend Austin came over today to help me work on the firewall stuff because I don't have 7 feet long arms. Got a lot done. I'm kind of getting tired now, so I'm probably gonna start wrapping it up and getting inside. So what I've done today is cut kind of the rest of this corner out. There was a panel here, don't need it. Put the boost controller here instead of it being mounted on the firewall. It gives me, makes it so I don't have to run them through those through the bulkheads. Also, having the boost controller closer to the wastegate will be more beneficial as well. So boost controller is here. Now I can just run a straight fitting for the CO2, and it's going to go straight through the fender well and then up to the CO2 bottle, which is right up there. So it's much easier of a run now. Everything in the fender well's harnessed. It's going to have to be tied up and loomed. Wheel speed sensor is also tied in. I added the douche plug. So everything I'm happy with here. And the big thing I got done today, which I've been wanting to do for a while, cool idea. As you can see right underneath here, you now have 1, 2, 3 -3s. And then the center, I'm sorry, the third is gonna be the map reference, and it goes right up to this fitting on the intake manifold. That way the fuel tech can get the map sensor, like I was saying before. And then inside the cabin, you can see right there the block with the sensors on it. So now it's gonna be easier for me to wire the harness. I don't have to run as many wires through the douche connector. I'm happy. If it can make it any easier on myself, I will. The benefits outweigh the negatives, so good there. I actually bolted on, well, not really. I held up the parachute mount again. So the parachute mount's back on. I added on a couple of gussets. So it's just so funny looking at the back of this car with the whole parachute mount and a trailer hitch. So as you can see, got the Euro ball assembly. And then I have my pigtail for the trailer harness. So I am so ready for drag week. That is going to be the absolute high of any part of my car career, is driving my race car 1,000 miles on the street, being pulling a trailer instead of the car being on a trailer. So it's definitely a cool twist, and it just, hopefully I'll do well. So anyhow, I'm getting some sleep. I'll catch you guys later.